Heyo folks, you have tuned into 109.5 K.E.L.I Radio. Today's video topic is on the Void. The Void is one of the most fundamental pillars of the Stress Level 0 lore, so I wanted to get it out of the way as soon as possible. We are constantly learning more about it, so be sure to check the pinned comments for any updates or revisions. There will be spoilers for Dock Season, Boneworks, and Bone Up ahead, so click off now if you wish to avoid these. So now, with the formalities out of the way. The Void is the glue that holds the Stress Level 0 universe together, quite literally. The Void has multiple layers to it, as shown in a diagram drawn by lore writer Alex Knoll. Let's break this page down from top to bottom. At the very top is us, our reality. Below that is a character called IXI. He is an entire kind of worm that deserves his own video at one point, but for now, note how he appears multiple times on the diagram. This goes to show how truly little we know about him. He can be in this reality, that one, come from this one, or another one. We just truly don't know. Beneath that is the Voidway. And this is also where we have to draw a very specific distinction. The Void and Voidway are the same thing. The Void is just a shortened version of Voidway, but Void is also a material that you can create things with, first seen in Boneworks with the multiple Void spells present in MythOS. You'll also notice how it's shaded in. The exact reason as to why is currently unknown, but I interpret it as the Voidway being an actual space rather than a concept. At the time this diagram was written, we hadn't actually explored the Void. We've seen glimpses of it through the showcase room in Dock Season and other hidden areas in that game, but the locations were in the Void, not the actual Void itself. This will make more sense once we look at Bone Labs and Boneworks' Voids. And at seemingly the very bottom is Dock Season, but don't confuse this for it being at the very bottom of this world or universe. It's far from it, in fact. There are an infinite amount of realities below and above it. The Void can be accessed from any one of these realities, it seems like. It just matters if you have the method to do so, of which there are many, one of those being the events of Bone Lab. And at the very bottom of the page, it goes on to talk about how certain things can change depending on your reality. Quote, Dock Season is a parallel existence. In our universe, in real life, it is a VR game. In Boneworks' universe, it is a simple flat game. In IXI's existence, it is a book. In Dock Season, it is a recursion bubble with branching timelines. What it is depends on what level of reality we are on. Now it's time to talk about the multiple different types of voids present in the Stress Level 0 universe. If we return to Big Anomaly, we find a whiteboard about the Big Anomaly. One of the threads talk about how the void's environment is either light or dark, foggy, grid, or temperate. We can be certain this relates to the Void since we see all of these in Dock Season, Boneworks, and Bone Lab. Well, except for possibly temperate. In Dock Season we see the Dark Void. In Boneworks we get to see the Dark Void once more, but this time the floor texture is grid-like, and perhaps you could argue it's foggy too. In Bone Lab we see the Light Void, and it's certainly foggy, and the grid texture appears once more. And maybe the skybox gradually changing color is supposed to be the temperate environment described on the whiteboard, but it's uncertain. Now that we've talked about it as a location, it's time to speak on what it is as a material. In the words of Boneworks itself, Void energy. This chaotic matter forms the foundation upon which MythOS stands. Quantum void energy particles exist in multiple places at once, providing the perfect glue that holds instanced matter together. Unimaginably dangerous if left unchecked, void energy should be handled with extreme caution. And that's about it of what we know about it as a material, other than the fact that it can possibly only exist as void energy in MythOS, so it can be actually usable. It's hard to tell. But now that we've talked about what it is, it's time to learn how it actually works. As I said at the beginning of the video, we are constantly learning more about the Void and how it works, but our current understanding is that it's heavily tied to the mind. From Boneworks saying that they're pumping Void into the cerebral cortex, to Jimmy warning you about the potential of your mind in the Void. I like to believe that we are able to create things with our mind with the Void, or perhaps the other way around, where the Void uses our minds to create things. Look at the clipboard on the rooftops called Deja Vu. It talks about how seemingly a memory from a person's mind was forcefully taken and used to make the room they were currently standing in. Although creating something with your mind hasn't been currently demonstrated in-game, it's been heavily implied, so keep that in mind. The Void also reacts to your brain, not only creates. At the end of Bone Lab, where Jimmy takes you into his cabin to G11.4, he says about how the song is the road. The song that plays is called Don't Fence Me In, and it's about removing boundaries on people, which naturally applies to Lava Gang, which then takes you to G11.4, since it's tied to Lava Gang. How? It's virtual causality. You join Lava Gang through playing Bone Lab, and you start where you begin, so you cause the events of the game. The final thing to learn about the Void is how its time works, or rather the lack thereof. Time in the Void is like the 10th Doctor said it.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Basically, when you're in the Void, you can be in there before a certain event, or after at the same time. It's best not to think about it too hard, but just to know that time isn't exactly relevant inside the Void. But with that, we've covered all the aspects of the Void at the time of writing the script. And I'd like to thank you all for tuning to 109.5 K.E.L.I Radio, and I hope we can see you in the next broadcast.